Movies sold you a version of this. The awkward kid who blossoms by prom night, a montage, a makeover, everybody clapping at the end. Yeah, that's not what this was. This was waking up already running the numbers before you even got dressed. Who's in a mood today? Which hallway to skip? What shirt gives you away before first period starts? No glow-up waiting on the other side. No big finish. Spoiler, nobody claps. Just you, figuring out early that getting through the day unnoticed was the win. The whole win. And here's the thing, some part of you got really good at that. Good enough that it never actually clocked out. Honestly, still hasn't. Okay, let's talk about the wardrobe, because it mattered more than it should have. Your jeans came from the Sears catalog, not the mall. Tough skins, sturdy, cheap, and everybody knew it. See, the difference between that and real Levi's, red tab and all, nobody ever had to say out loud. It just hung in the air. Your shoes told the same story before anybody even got to the jacket. Not Nike, not even close. Pro Wings, maybe, bought a size up so they'd last the year. The swoosh you drew on with a marker back in 4th grade. Everybody knew that trick, and everybody knew it never worked. But your jacket? Your jacket was the one thing you actually owned. Stonewashed. Acid wash if you got lucky that Christmas. You wore it in September, you wore it in May. Weather be damned, that jacket was doing the heavy lifting, and it never once let you down. Nobody handed out a dress code. Nobody had to. Wrong jeans, wrong shoes, wrong jacket, and that's your semester basically decided before homeroom even starts. Your trapper keeper was the plain one. Solid color, zero attention, which, honestly, on a good day, was exactly the point. Now your Walkman. That wasn't a Sony, let's be real. Emerson, maybe. Sound design if you were really unlucky. Foam headphones split right down the seam by winter break, held together with tape you hoped nobody noticed. But here's the thing about the tapes. Hand-labeled, dubbed straight off the radio, DJ's voice bleeding into the first 10 seconds of every single song. You knew every one of those cutoffs by heart, timed that record button just right, and that tape felt like something you built with your own 2 hands. Nobody gave you that. You made it. Alright, so, the logistics. Because surviving this took actual strategy. Nobody tells you that in health class. You learn the bus before you learn anything in homeroom. Front seats, near the driver, safe territory. Back seats belong to somebody else. You don't test who. You pick a spot 2/3 back. Close enough that nobody thinks you're scared. Far enough that nobody thinks about you at all. The cafeteria has a map nobody drew. Everybody knows it anyway. Sit wrong on day 1, and that's your whole semester decided. No pressure. You watch for it every single day. Which table? Which mood? Which kid had a bad morning at home and is looking for somewhere to put it? There's a stretch of hallway near the gym you learn to route around. Not because anything's guaranteed to happen there, because it might. And that maybe is enough to reroute your whole day. The locker room has its own rules nobody explains either. You learn to change fast, face to the locker, and you learn which bay is safe, long before anybody tells you why it matters. Then there's the bleachers, the real final exam. Wood, cold in the morning, splintery by afternoon. Everyone shoulder to shoulder while 2 captains take turns picking teams. You know your number in that lineup before it happens. You've done the math 100 times. You watch the row thin out, 1 name at a time. Your face does nothing. Don't look eager. Eager gets noticed. Don't look like you expected it either. That gets noticed too. You wait for your name. Get up like it was never a question. Take your spot on whatever team needed a body. You don't make eye contact with certain kids in certain grades. Not politeness. Just math you did once and never had to redo. You carry your books stacked against your chest, not because anyone told you to, but because it puts something solid between you and the hallway. You time bathroom trips around which class just let out. Second row, every classroom that lets you choose. Never the front, trying too hard. Never the back, someone else's seat to earn. Some teachers just let you keep that same seat every day without asking why it matters so much. You never explain it, they never ask. That unspoken deal is worth more than almost anything else that year. None of this ever got said out loud. Not by you. Not by anyone. It was just the weather you got dressed for every morning. The way some kids check the sky, you checked the hallway. You were 14 and running a full risk assessment before 8 a.m. Honestly, kind of impressive looking back. Now, here's where it gets good. You notice them before you ever talk to them. The same Kmart sneakers on somebody else's feet, 2 rows up in social studies. The same plain blue binder, no stickers, no unicorns, tucked under somebody's arm by the water fountain. A trapper keeper in that same forgettable solid color, not the pattern anyone traded compliments over. You clock it the way you clock everything, quietly, without staring. And somehow, that's enough. Nobody explains it. Nobody has to. You just start ending up near each other. Same end of the hallway, same back corner of the library, same lunch table nobody else wanted. An alliance built entirely out of matching off-brand gear. And honestly, it held up better than most things did. Eventually somebody says the actual words, or nobody does, and it just becomes true anyway. There's a basement, and you're welcome in it. Wood paneling. A hand-me-down couch with a permanent dent in it, shaped like every kid who ever sat there. A television that only gets 3 channels and doesn't need a 4th. Nobody's grading you down here. This is where the real trading happens. Not baseball cards. Tapes. Comics. A cartridge somebody's cousin got early and swore you to secrecy about. You build a whole language nobody else understands. A word for a certain teacher. A word for a certain hallway. One look across a room that says more than a sentence could. You warn each other before you warn anyone else. Who's in a mood today? Which senior to avoid near the gym doors? Whose older brother's driving and might swing by the bus stop looking for trouble? There was exactly 1 dance a year worth mentioning, and you went. Not because anybody expected you to dance, but because the gym looked different with the lights half down. You stood near the punch table with the same kids from the basement, and for 2 hours, nobody needed you to be anything other than exactly who you already were. Somebody's cousin ran the cassette deck, and for once, everybody in that gym was singing along to something you already knew by heart. Down here, nobody asks you to explain your jacket. Nobody clocks the off-brand sneakers. You bring the comic you've been guarding in a plastic sleeve, and somebody actually wants to see it, asks a real question about it. That alone rewires something in you, a little. The library corner does some of this work too, quieter. Sci-fi shelf. Back issues nobody else has touched in years. A silence that isn't lonely, just yours. But the basement, that's where the real currency moves. Where a hobby you'd never mention in the cafeteria gets treated like it's worth something. Because in here, it is. You don't talk about home. Nobody asks you to. You just show up. Somebody already knows to make room on the couch. And for an hour or two, nothing outside that basement door gets a vote. Best deal you ever made, and you didn't even have to negotiate it. You didn't think about any of this at the time. You were just getting through Tuesday. But it adds up to something later. It always does. That habit of reading a room before you walk into it, still in you, decades on, in meetings that have nothing to do with hallways or bleachers. The part of you that learned to want less, notice more, and never look like you're trying too hard, that part never actually clocked out when high school ended. It just found new rooms to work in. You learned early. The things worth having were rarely the things you were just handed. The friends from that basement, some you kept, some you didn't, but you all still carry the same instinct. Check on the quiet kid in a new room, because you remember exactly what that felt like. And when you meet somebody now who mentions pro wings, or a hand-labeled tape, or trading a favor you never had to ask for out loud, something in you sits up straight, recognizes its own kind, same as it did back then, before either of you said a word about it. Nobody hands a kid a trapper keeper anymore. Nobody dubs a tape off the radio, DJ's voice and all. There's nothing left to even dub it onto. That specific way of getting through a school day, reading a hallway, timing a bathroom trip, waiting for your name to get picked, it doesn't exist like that anymore. But it lives in you, quietly, the way it always did. And honestly, you wouldn't trade it.